y'all, it's Laura, and I have my 2 finished Smashbooks for 2020. So I use these instead of Project Life just to document everyday stories and give myself a lot of room for journaling, which is something a little bit different. I've done Smashbooks instead of Project Life for 2 years now. This was my 2nd year, and I'm actually going to go back to Project Life for 2021. Kind of switch it up, keep it interesting. Now, the first Smashbook that I worked in was a travel themed yellow binding Smashbook. Has a bit of a compass design on the front. And the second one I worked with was the wedding based one, and then it's more of a cream color. So I didn't do as many pages in here, and I ripped a lot of pages out because I couldn't fit it all in one book. That is part of why I'm going back to Project Life, because I still ended up creating 3 albums worth on top of this. And so that seems like a lot for 1 year. So I'm going to try to go back to combining them and see how I go. Now, to get started, I am going to go ahead and just start flipping through them, showing you the pages and the kind of stories that I decided to document. To begin with, my word for 2020 was fearless. That turned up to be very apropos for the year, as it was a wild year and lots of concerns to be had. So on this first page, it was a hello, bonjour filled page. I just added a small section for some journaling about my word for the year and a few very minor stickers. Then we open up to these pattern papers. Now, the purpose of a Smashbook, if you're not familiar, is it's kind of like a junk journal with a spiral binding. It already has a plentiful amount of papers in here with designs already on them, and you can just kind of smash in your stories and photos. You can do things like I do, where you try to do very simple designs, or you can just literally glue things in. Totally fine. This first one, I had a bunch of these florals left over from a layout. So I put a couple of tags and then layered in my florals between my 2 photos of my youngest daughter hiding in the laundry hamper. Over here, I have my son, Alex. He's my oldest, with our dog, Gracie. And I just used this little 4x6 card that says real life looks like this as the background, and then just added in some banners and a journaling spot at the bottom, keeping it very simple. On this next page, I have a 2x2 grid of my girls cutting their hair intentionally, but not where I wanted it cut, and just talking about how this is something we have to be very careful about with my twins. They are autistic and they don't really understand you're not supposed to do that. And so then we had, of course, a trip to the hair salon to fix said mess, but that ends up repeating itself later. And then I have this layout about homeschooling my youngest son, who is gifted. And so I've done a whole bunch of books that I have fussy cut out from some Chamel papers, a few embellishments, a piece of paper in the background, some more books, and a long amount of journaling about homeschooling, our goals, what we want to accomplish, and what we experience together. All of these are fussy cut pieces or ephemera pieces from it was one of Chamel's collections. I honestly don't remember the name offhand. And this one was an interesting layout. I have a lot of older Chamel stuff here, Glitter Girl stuff, and some random bits and pieces from my desk. This one actually has a pocket for a bunch of tags. So I have 3 tags in here. I think only one of them has journaling. Yeah, journaling on the back of that one. But I just stuck them in there because I thought they were kind of fun, and gets them used up. I often used this project to use up bits and pieces that were left over from kits or collections, just to kind of finish them off. A lot of the journaling pages here are from Chamel's 6x8 paper pads, which had a lot of journaling spots in them. This has 2 photos. This one's talking about my little human figure that I use for sketching people, and how my kids randomly will style him into an interesting position. He's dabbing in that one. And over here, my daughter had painted at school this really cute baby Yoda picture. So we just added a bit of a box of crayons here on this one, and I think that came out really cute. This one is about my daughter cutting her hair and then us dyeing it red, which is the first time she'd ever dyed her hair. And so I created this kind of psychedelic background with some cut apart, well, not cut apart, fussy cut pieces from whatever the Chanel collection was at the time. And inside, she did the journaling here, and I just decorated the top. And then I did my journaling over here, just talking about her growing up and how this is a kind of a new phase in her life. Now, this one cracks me up. This is a photo of my dog Gracie sneaking up on a sleeping Joseph. And so just talking about that and how being at home with him and all the kids, because at this point we were, had pulled the kids out of school. The school had closed rather. And so everybody was at home for a while, and at how that has really changed how things were going on around the house, because Joseph was already homeschooling, but now everybody else was at home as well, and it made it really tricky. We had to change our schedule quite a bit. This is a 6x8 piece of paper and some washi and some random bits and pieces here. Added in a 3x4 card for some journaling, and then 2 photos of the turtle that my youngest daughter made with her food. Sometimes you just gotta laugh, you know? You just gotta laugh. This is documenting some scrapbooking. This is the first time in a very long time that I have actually documented my scrapbooking. And it felt really nice to kind of acknowledge that I have goals in this area of my life too, and kind of talking about how scrapbooking is my therapy and my hobby, and I really, really love it. And then this was a page that was already in the album, and it had top 10 of something. And I decided to make it places I want to go, because at this point we're in quarantine. No one's going anywhere. And so I just listed a whole bunch of countries, not in any particular order, of places that I really would love to go and visit. And it kind of was cathartic for me to think about, when this is all over, maybe I'll get to do that. This one is talking about the huge change of having to go pick up packets and school the kids at home using these packets. And the weird thing about these packets was that they didn't really have a curriculum. It was just a bunch of worksheets. So there wasn't like a teaching part of it. It was just do busy work. And this went on for over a month. And it was really, really hard. It was very weird to go pick these up every single week. And they weren't always ready. And sometimes you had to make multiple trips. And it was very strange. Very big change in our routine. Then here's me looking tired because shake up your routine is right. And I'm journaling a lot about that, about how different our routine had become and how exhausting it was to then be teaching all of the kids and handling all of their homework with them. This is a really sweet layout of my twins. Now, when they go to sleep, they tend to be very far apart. They don't usually sleep this close together. And so when my husband went in to check on them before we went to bed, he said, "You've got to get a picture of this." And sure enough, they were all cuddled up together, super cute. This background was already here, and I just made it work for some journaling about how I hope my girls grow up to be just as close as they are now, and maybe with less fighting. And this page is about my daughter Sophia and her cat-like love of containers. And this is one, we did a lot of these in the early ones in this Smashbook, either live or they're recorded on my channel. I have a whole playlist of process videos for this Smashbook, if you'd like to check that out. We did some stamping on this one. This was a live, and then added in some Vicky Booten florals. 2 photos of her in this container. One when we initially left it out. This one time it's full of clothes we were putting away, and she decided it was a great place for a nap. And then my little journaling here about how she loves to hide. She's always loved to find little holes and hiding places, and it's always quite cute to find her in the different places that she likes to hide. This was our first Zoom birthday. So this was a birthday party for my twins and my mom, and this is my husband and Sophia, and then my brother and my niece, and all of us just trying to chat with them. This is the first time we'd ever really used Zoom for a birthday party, and so I had to document that. Thought that was kind of interesting. This has some stamping on it, as well as some little tile stickers. This was a page in the book that I just kind of really liked. And so I just added, oh, hello, you can change the world. Because I thought the telephone booth kind of made sense with the Zoom call. This page is about my girls getting a little pool for their birthday, little sprinkler pool, and how much they enjoyed it. A little bit of journaling down the center, some tags on the side. And this was using a Bella Boulevard Chloe collection and a little bit of Doodlebug as well. One of the Easter collections, I think. I kind of combined the two. This side has my youngest daughter and our dog. She had laid down on the dog's bed, and the dog did not generally appreciate it, but she tolerated it. And just talking about how much Sophia loves this dog bed, and if Gracie's not in it, she curls up in it instead. All right, so then we have the hammock. We had gotten a hammock for our older daughter, and she was setting it up for scouts to practice in our backyard. And my girls loved it. Absolutely loved it. They had a blast. Daddy would crawl into it and they'd curl up with him and just lay there and swing back and forth, and they just absolutely adored it. This one, he had planted a tree that my mother-in-law gave to us. We had purposely put a tree there before, and the girls had pulled it out. And so then we had this hole that we kept trying to fill with dirt, and it would never get full. It would just sink. So she gave us another tree to put in there, and I just want to kind of document what it looked like when we initially planted it. You'll see it later and how much it's grown in just a few months. Now, these were documenting my first attempts at cutting hair. Never cut anybody's hair before. And so, well, that's not true. I attempted to cut his hair when he was younger and failed miserably. This time I had gone on YouTube and taken a tutorial and did a decent job. Not an expert job. I did a decent job, I think. My husband was actually quite pleased with what I did for his hair and has asked me to do his hair again, but it took a very long time to do, so I've just sent him to the barber instead. And I thought this ooh la la tied in quite nicely, so I just left it there. By leaving a couple of pages blank like that, it kind of, limits the bulkiness of the album. You'll notice I'm not using any puffy stickers, no epoxy flare, nothing that has dimension at all, and it still ended up pretty chunky. So this was documenting the foliage around our house, and here is the little tree. It's already grown pretty tall here. It was pretty impressive. This was only about 2 months later, I think. So that was pretty exciting. And then I found this poem online and loved it. And so I decided to go ahead and write it out on here. It is an anonymous poem, and I just thought it was really beautiful and could use this page appropriately. Oh, now this one I remember doing for Scraptember, and it was using a song title or a lyric maybe, as the title. And so it's a 2x2 grid with the title down the center. I have a whole lot of journaling about the trip. My husband took the older 3 kids on to go camping because they were absolutely sick of being at home, and I wanted them to do something safe. So they went out in the middle of nowhere and went camping and just tried to stay away from people as much as possible. And they succeeded. They did really well. So that was good. They had a lot of fun. This is documenting another bit of a change to our routine in our home. So my husband had been working from home kind of off and on for a while, and at this point it had pretty much become, you're working at home. And so just kind of documenting the little office he set up for himself in our bedroom, and using a lot of COVID printables that I got from Tracy Reed's blog. If you're not familiar, look up Tracy Reed's blog. I don't remember the name. I think it's just tracyreed.com, I'm pretty sure. And she had links to a whole bunch of printables, and there's a little bit of a Let's Stay Home from Pink Fresh in here as well. And then these are the masks that I bought and had washed. And so I had a whole line of drying masks in our bathroom. And I thought, this is not something I may ever have a picture of in the future. How cool would this be looking back several years and seeing this and going, oh wow, how weird and how different was that? I hope it is weird and different in the future. That's all I'm saying. And on this next page, I'm documenting getting used to wearing a mask. So this is the first mask that my beautiful mother-in-law made for me. And this is the mask we started purchasing ourselves once we realized this was going to be a long-term thing. We should probably purchase a bunch of masks. And so this one, I'm not too happy. It wasn't comfortable. She had used like hair bands for the ears and they kind of hurt. And switching to this one was a little bit more comfortable, but it's still weird to get used to. And just kind of talking about that adjustment and how it is so strange. And then my son's birthday, he turned 16, which seems crazy. And of course my husband pretending to eat his cake because like you do. And so this page is kind of cool. It had this like chalkboard effect in the background already. And so I just added in some papers and went with the already existing design. This little blue thing was already here. So I just added on top of it. And this is my husband attempting to virtual school the twins. He and I would try to work with them as much as possible, but it was really hard. I was organizing and printing out all of their work. He was sitting down and getting them to do it. It was kind of a nightmare, to be honest with you, for them and for us. It was just very frustrating because it was a lot of busy work and we just struggled to get them to do it. And this one is talking about pizza for dinner. I don't document food very often, but this happens to be one of our favorite places to eat. And so I thought, I just happened to see them grouped around it and said, hey, smile, had my phone, caught a quick picture, and I thought, let's document our favorite place to eat because that is something that will change over time. Now here's documenting our girls go to a couple of therapies a week for speech and occupational therapy due to their autism. And them having masks and being required to wear them was new. So we decided to go ahead and document that. A couple pictures in the car on our way. Well, we were waiting. We were waiting in the car. That was the other part, is we were waiting in the car for therapy. And that was just very, very strange for us. We don't normally do that. We go sit in the waiting room. But no, we have now gotten used to just sitting in the van waiting for their turn. This is documenting my oldest son virtual schooling. He had to record a video for his speech class. And so he had his sister recording for him, and it was just such a cool moment, and I'm glad I got to capture a couple of pictures because these two are really close, but they don't often hang out. They're teenagers. They tend to hide in their room. Parents of teenagers or grandparents of teenagers, you know what I'm talking about. So I decided to go ahead and document this really fun moment where he asked her to help him video this, and she was more than happy to help, and just kind of documenting how cool this was to see happen. And then we have another birthday. This one is my youngest son's birthday. Sorry. This is my youngest son's birthday, and I'm just creating my own background here. I didn't like the yellow map that was in the background, so I just covered it up with some paper scraps and things, some flags across the bottom, just trying to dress it up a little bit. And then on the other side is a 2x2 grid of my mom and my dog. Now we adopted her from my mom. And so I was going to visit mom occasionally just to check in with her, see if she needed anything. Of course, we wore masks and stayed outside. And I brought Gracie one time to see her, and she flipped out. She was so excited to see my mom. So then we have this really cool. I thought this photo was really cool, and so I left this page blank just so that I could enjoy it later. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. It's a little full, so it doesn't want to turn very easily. So this was kind of a cool photo. It made me wish we could travel. You know, we wouldn't travel like this, but it would be cool to be able to travel. So I just put a couple of embellishments on here and called that done. This is documenting my son's newfound interest in the computer and YouTube, and Sophia wanting to join him as much as possible to watch Minecraft videos. And then this was the end of the first book. So it has, like the beginning where it had a hello, it has a goodbye page. And I just left that blank because I thought that was appropriate for the end of the book. Now in book 2, there's not nearly as many pages. I pulled a lot of them out. And I did allow myself to use some puffy dimensional things because I knew I wasn't going to be doing very many pages. This starts in September and runs through December. There's not a lot of December photos in here though, because I do a December daily, which is a 6x8 daily album, already documenting December. So for this particular set of photos, my son had gotten into the hammock, which was still set up at this point, and couldn't get up from the hammock and had to get his sister to help, which she thought was very funny. And so that was a really fun little, kind of a quirky story to start it off with. And then I had to take these two photos of my oldest daughter holding my middle daughter and walking her around the house on her back, because they used to do this all the time. This was constant. Back when Olivia was maybe 2 and up. I have tons of pictures of them doing this, and I just kind of wanted to document that here. This paper is from a Chamel paper pad. The title is from an Elle Studio paper. The Love Happened was already in the background. So this green paper was already here. This banner with the whammo was already here, and I just added some things on top. This book is very simple, keep that in mind. And on this page, documenting my twins going back to school in person. It was a very hard decision to make. I'm talking about a lot of that here, about how hard it was to send them back to school, knowing that was going to put us in some risk of exposure. But for the twins, it was just necessary. Absolutely necessary. They were really struggling at home with trying to learn and do all of the work that was expected of them, especially with a brand new teacher who didn't really know them yet. And so just have a lot of random bits and pieces added in here to use them up. Then we have a 2x2 grid. This was a common design that I use because it's quick, easy, you can get multiple photos on a page. And this is about my oldest son doing virtual schooling on his laptop. And it's a little bit crazy, just talking about how he's having to really adjust to doing things very differently. And my youngest son is homeschooling in the background. And it talks a little bit about that too, just about how things have changed over time. This is for Chloe's birthday, and it has a little flip out. So I did this a few times, but not terribly often because I did know it would add to the bulk. And so this is the little Zoom call for her birthday and some journaling about it. But I just love this photo and the way that that just kind of is a little hidden message I thought was kind of cool. She made her own cake, which is a rainbow, and she was very, very excited about how that turned out. Next, we have this page where my son had gone and stained our swing set for my twins as a service project for Boy Scouts, because you can't do service projects during a pandemic, as it turns out. And so he did one at home, and they agreed to count it. Then these photos are just some silly pictures that I took when my husband found a brown leaf in our backyard. Because normally the leaves don't really turn colors here, but we had a rare cold snap in October that actually changed the leaves this year. It was weird and wild, and I was there for it. So I just did a really quick little layout here for that and added in some journaling. And then we have the new, what are they called? Guinea pigs that are at school. They're the class pets in my twins' class. And I still don't know their names. I asked the girls, and I was told pigs. So that's what I wrote. Hello, school pets, pigs. So talking a little bit about those and how excited they were about these little guinea pigs. And then again, talking about some scrapbooking here. I don't document it a lot, but I do want to include that every once in a while because it's a big part of my life. So this was a really cool little box of wood veneer that I was gifted from a friend. I still don't know who sent it, but it's the best. I just open it and smell it because it smells so good. That sounds weird. Anyway, there's some journaling inside here about that. And then this is when I opened up my P.O. box and started my pen pals. So excited to have pen pals, really enjoying chatting with people. If you want to join us, it's always in the description down below. And both of these open up to show journaling, maybe journaling. So that came out pretty cute. I did glue some of the pages together too, just to get to the pages I liked because I knew I wasn't keeping them all. Now I have this one talking about crafting and scrapbooking and how much it means to me. I had gotten this little apron from a Cherry on Top as their design team member. They sent me this really cute little apron, and so I was kind of showing that off a little bit. And then I had these two super cute photos of my twins wearing a bright pink wig they found in the Halloween box. And then this one is about voting and about the election. So I just did a kind of a modified grid. I've covered up some of the photos that might be upsetting to some people. I don't want to upset anybody. Politics is dangerous to talk about. And then we have Thanksgiving. So I have lunch of leaves that I fussy cut from my current kit. And I went ahead and used on a couple of these pages here, just kind of used them up and documenting our at-home Thanksgiving. And then I have the Christmas cards that we received. I always put on this wire wreath, and just took a picture of that and documented how much I love giving and receiving Christmas cards. I really enjoy it. And then talking about Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. And so when my son decided last year he was interested in starting the series, I was super excited. And a lot of that is here about my excitement and documenting us reading Harry Potter together. Of course, Gracie makes an appearance because she's adorable and she can't help but be in the middle of things. And I just did really simple clusters on this page. Then more Harry Potter. This is actually documenting the gifts that I got this year for Christmas. And I had a wand from Luna Lovegood, who is my favorite character. And then some of these pop figurines, as well as an advent calendar full of tiny figurines. And just talking about that, about my husband surprising me with the wand. I didn't know he was buying that, and how tricky he was to ask my son rather, who my favorite character was so that he could get that wand. This was a really cute quiz on Facebook that I thought hilariously had great answers, and talking about Hufflepuffs and the description of the house, because I am a Hufflepuff. No one is surprised. And the last thing in the book is talking about the Christmas star of Jupiter and Saturn lining up and creating just a really cool photo. So that is the end of my Smashbooks. I hope you have enjoyed working with me throughout the year on these projects. And again, if you'd like to see any of the process videos, there is a playlist of them. I do make playlists for all of my series and different projects. You can easily find more if you're interested in them. But that's it for today, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, and until next time, bye.